Broken symmetry, BS Math's rule of signs cannot be proved. From What is Mathematics by Courant and Robbins, page 55, the rule -1 times a -1 equals a +1, which we set up to govern the multiplication of negative energies as a consequence of our desire to preserve the distribution law. A times B plus C is AB plus AC. It took a long time for mathematicians to realize that the rule of signs, together with all the other definitions governing negative integers and fractions, cannot be proved. They were created by us in order to attain the freedom of operation while preserving the fundamental laws of arithmetic. BS mathematicians should have discovered the problem. Instead, they invented symbols and definitions and bypassed the real problem: imaginary numbers and absolute values. After 4 years of working on the problem, on January 7, 2005, I broke the codes for the different uses of the dash and the cross symbols. Code 1, the dash sign. The dash sign is used as a subtraction operator, is used as a direction in space labeled negative, whatever that means, and is used as an exponent to mean divide, is used to show the numbers of zeros to the right of a decimal point. Dash times a dash is used to multiply dashes times dashes and change them into crosses, and a dash times a cross used to multiply dashes times crosses and change them into dashes. A negative electron, whatever that means, negative mass, whatever that means, and in chemistry, thermal chemistry, enthalpy, entropy, and Gibbs free energy determine the final sign associated with a spontaneous process. Code 2, the cross sign, a plus. Used as an addition operator, used as a direction in space labeled positive, whatever that means, used to show the numbers of zeros to the left of a decimal point, used to multiply crosses times crosses and leaves them as crosses, and used to multiply crosses times dashes and change them into dashes. In physics, a positive proton, whatever that means, and a positive mass, whatever that means. In chemistry, again, thermal chemistry, enthalpy, entropy, and Gibbs free energy to determine the final sign associated with a spontaneous process. The same dash symbol is used for numerous different math operations. The definitions established for the use of the dash symbol do not distinguish between their different operations. In many math operations, the dash symbol is changed to mean one of the other two meanings. It is amazing that math has proceeded to its current level of use with this illogical use of a symbol. The same cross symbol is used for numerous different math operations. The definitions established for the use of the cross symbol do not distinguish between their different operations. In many math operations, the cross symbol is changed to mean the other meanings. Symmetry breaking. Because BS Math uses the same symbol for different operations, they created a number line based on broken symmetry. The negative or dash side of the BS number line produces different answers than the positive or cross side of the BS number line. A dash times a dash is equal to a cross. A symbol on the left side of the BS number line multiplied by the same symbol on the left side of the BS number line is moved to the right side of the BS number line, and the dash is changed to a cross. Not just subtraction, but double subtraction. This produces broken symmetry. A dash times a cross is equal to a dash. Anytime a dash is multiplied by a cross, the answer moves to the dash side of the number line. Again, it will be a double subtraction. This is broken symmetry. A cross multiplied by a cross is equal to a cross. All cross multiplications of crosses remain crosses. An addition symbol multiplied by an addition symbol remains an addition symbol. What is the meaning of multiplication of addition symbols? Symmetry is not broken. However, multiplying symbols that have different meanings without specifying the meaning is illogical. The BS math system originated with broken symmetry in the XYZ plane, originated with mirror broken symmetry in the XY plane, created an illogical rule of signs that cannot be proved to preserve the distributive law, created imaginary numbers to compensate for broken symmetry, created absolute values to compensate for incorrect answers from the rule of signs and negative numbers, and produced broken symmetry graphs for numerous functions, and the dash side of the graph is different from the cross side of the graph. The Symmetry-Math system. It returns symmetry to the XYZ plane, removes the bilateral and mirror broken symmetry of the Cartesian coordinate system, provides a logical rule of signs. An arrow in this direction and an arrow in this direction stays in this direction, an arrow in that direction and an arrow in that direction stays in that direction, and multiplications of arrows does not exist. It removes BS error in the distributive law, removes imaginary numbers, which means that all math using imaginary number must be abandoned and replaced with SM, quantum mechanics, Schrodinger's equations, Einstein's special relativity. It removes absolute values, it produces symmetrical graphs for all functions, and shows the math error in Einstein's special relativity. One of Einstein's math errors was due to the use of the BS math distributive law, and his second error was multiplying a direction to the left by a direction to the right. Named the Cartesian coordinate system after the French mathematician René Descartes, the idea of this system was developed in 1637 in two writings by Descartes and independently by Pierre de Fermat. BS was established before the age of science. In 1610, Galileo published an account of his telescopic observation of the moons of Jupiter, using this observation to argue in favor of the centered world. And in 1687, Newton's Mathematics was published, and in 1820, Faraday showed electricity and magnetism. Broken symmetry BS math. Why a negative times a negative does not equal a positive. It took 4 years of study to discover why BS math only works in an imaginary world where space in the dash direction is different from space in the cross direction. Started working on the problem in August of 2001 and solved in January of 2005. BS math rule of signs is illogical. A negative times a negative equals a positive, a negative times a positive equals a negative, and a positive times a positive equals a positive. In BS math, no distinction is made between a subtraction operator and an addition operator, a direction in space, or multiplication of dashes times crosses. This is where the problem exists. Data points created using BS math produce graphs that are not symmetrical. Dash side different from the cross side. Examples will be shown later. However, if a real problem's space data points follow the non-symmetrical graph, the graph can provide usable answers. This is why no one discovered the problem. Symmetry math, SM. If we specify that the dash sign means only subtraction and the cross sign means only addition, and an appropriate symbol is used for a direction in space, space becomes symmetrical. Math operators and directions in space are not the same, and the same symbol should not be used to represent them. A dash multiplied by a dash equals a cross. A negative times a negative equals a positive, and a left times a left equals a right. Illogical BS math. The negative is not just subtracted, it is moved by the same amount to the right side of the number line, double subtraction. If you use symmetry math, which is logical, the subtraction of a direction in this way goes in the opposite direction that way. The subtraction of a direction is equal to the opposite direction. The answers are correct using correct logic. There is no multiplication of a subtraction operator by a direction in space. There's just the subtraction of a direction in space. If instead of labeling the left side of a coordinate system as negative, the same as a subtraction operator, we label it with an arrow to represent the direction, then a subtraction from that direction will be in the opposite direction. This is single subtraction. The direction arrow ahead returns to the 0 point on the number line. In illogical BS math, a negative times a positive is a negative, a subtraction times an addition is a subtraction, a direction to the left multiplied by a direction to the right is a direction to the left, and a dash times a cross is equal to a dash. A negative, whatever that means, multiplied by a positive, whatever that means, is equal to a negative. This is illogical. A subtraction operator multiplied by an addition operator is equal to a subtraction operator. This is illogical. A direction to the left multiplied by a direction to the right is a direction to the left. This is illogical. A dash multiplied by a cross is equal to a dash. This is illogical. The symmetry math logical explanation is simple. A subtraction of a direction is the opposite direction. The subtraction of a direction is changed to the opposite direction. A positive times a positive equals a positive. An addition operator multiplied by an addition operator is equal to an addition operator, and a cross multiplied by a cross equals a cross. BS math. What is the meaning of multiplying addition operators? They are separate math functions. BS math is illogical. A number multiplied by a direction gives a number times that direction, and multiplied by a direction in the opposite direction gives a number in the opposite direction. A number times a direction maintains the same direction in SM logical math. In SM, the addition of a direction is in the same direction. There is no multiplication of addition operators. Again, SM math is logical. For hundreds of years, BS math has obtained usable answers to certain equations. Math books need to be changed to eliminate the use of the cross sign to represent something labeled a positive direction in space, and the use of a dash sign to represent something labeled a negative direction in space. Space does not have positive and negative directions. SM uses arrows for directions. All observers see the same direction. Using BS math, the left side of the number line, defined as the negative side, is different from the math on the right side of the number line, defined as the positive side. Symmetry is broken. The square root of -1 does not exist. The square root of -1 squared equals -1. In BS math, if you square something that does not exist, it exists. This is illogical. Negative and positive directions in space. If I ask you to point to a negative direction in space, which way would you point? Hopefully you will realize that there's no such thing as a negative direction in space. If I asked you to point to a positive direction in space, which way would you point? Again, hopefully you will realize that there is no such thing as a positive direction in space. The BS math number line is broken symmetry in the X, Y, and Z axis. BS math on the left, down, and back side of the BS math number line is different from the math on the right, up, and front side of the BS math number line. Objects on the right of the x-axis are positive. Objects on the left of the x-axis are negative. Negative math is different from positive math. This is illogical. Objects on the top of the y-axis are positive. Objects on the bottom of the y-axis are negative. Objects in the front of the z-axis are positive. Objects in the back of the z-axis are negative. Again, BS math of the positive directions, right, up, and front, is different from BS math of the negative directions, left, down, and back. Left and right, front and back, up and down axis have broken symmetry. I've placed an observer 2 in the back of the z-axis and an observer 1 in the front of the z-axis. In BS math, mirror image is broken symmetry in the x and z axis. If the left and right axis are reversed, symmetry is broken. Observer 1 math is different from observer 2 math. If the front and back axis is reversed, symmetry is broken. Observer 1 math is different from observer 2 math. If the top and bottom axis are reversed, symmetry is not broken. Observer math is the same as observer 2. Negatives and positives. There are no negatives in math or space directions. This was just a poor choice of words and symbols. There is nothing negative about space. It is just a direction. In math, the dash symbol should only mean to subtract. It does not mean something is negative, whatever a negative means. There are no positives in math or space directions. In math, the cross symbol should only mean addition. It does not mean something is positive, whatever a positive means. When a direction arrow is used for the dash symbol and the word negative is removed, the answers come out correctly for adding and subtracting directions in space. You do not need the invention of imaginary numbers. The left side of this shows Barry Mazur's imaginary numbering book, in which I squared, or I is the square root of -1. So if you carry out the math here, you'll find out that the square root of -2 is I times 1.414. If you use symmetry math and you use arrows for directions, you simply have the square root of 2 moving in this direction, and so it's 1.414 moving in the direction of the arrow. Symmetry math is logical. A subtraction of one direction in space means to move in the opposite direction. So the subtraction of a direction to the left is a direction to the right. This is not multiplication of a dash times an arrow. The subtraction of a direction to the right is a direction to the left. This is not multiplication of a dash times an arrow. Symmetry math is logical. The subtraction of an arrow pointing in any direction is an arrow pointing in the opposite direction. In BS illogical math, a dash times a dash equals a cross. A negative times a negative is a positive. A negative subtraction operator multiplied by a negative direction in space equals a positive direction in space. This is totally illogical. And a negative times a positive equals a negative. A dash times a cross equals a dash. So a negative subtraction operator multiplied positive direction in space equals a negative direction in space. BS math is illogical. Addition of arrows means to move in the same direction. The top line is an addition of a direction to the left is a direction to the left. Symmetry math is logical. An addition of a direction to the right is the direction to the right. Again, symmetry math is logical. And now the second line, a cross times a dash equals a dash. An addition operator multiplied by a subtraction operator is equal to a subtraction operator. Multiplying subtraction and addition operators is illogical. A cross times a cross equals a cross. An addition operator multiplied by an addition operator is equal to an addition operator. Multiplying subtraction and addition operators is illogical. What is the meaning of multiplying addition and subtraction operators? BS math is illogical. If you use numbers in arrows, 6 in this direction and 4 in that direction is 2 in this direction. The results of arrows is the direction of the arrow with the greatest magnitude. Logical symmetry math. A 6 in that direction, a 4 in this direction is a 2 in that direction. The resultant of arrows in the direction of arrows with the greatest magnitude. Logical symmetry math. The illogical and incorrect BS math for the distributive law. A plus B squared. If we substitute positive numbers in the equation, the answers will be correct. When two positive numbers are added and squared, the BS math distributive law provides a correct answer. By definition, in BS math, no number squared can ever be negative. Therefore, no squared number can ever be an arrow moving in the dash or negative direction if it is squared. In BS math, an addition operator multiplied by a subtraction operator is always equal to a subtraction operator. If this had not been used for the last 400 years, you would die laughing at the utter absurdity of this last statement. This is illogical and violates symmetry. If A is 5 and B is 3, As long as A is greater than B, the BS Math distributive law provides correct answers. BS Math breaks down when B is greater than A. So if A is 3 and B is 5, 3 minus 5 squared is minus 2 squared, which is plus 4. So BS Math always gives a positive answer. The answer should be 2 and 2, which is a arrow pointing in the direction of the 4. Symmetry math is logical, BS math is illogical and incorrect. Because by definition, the correct answer cannot be minus 4 in BS math. BS math produces incorrect answers. This is where the distributive law provides incorrect answers. It produces an answer of plus 4 because by definition, no number squared in BS math can be a negative number. Using incorrect BS math, the distributive law will give an incorrect answer of plus 4. This is incorrect and illogical. Since there can be no negative directions from a squared term in BS math must be revised. The BS math distributive law must be abandoned. All arrows inside brackets must be solved first. Then any number raised to any power will just be in the direction of the arrow. The reason BS math does not work is that it is multiplying an arrow going in one direction by an arrow going in another direction. Clearly, this is not logical. The numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, and minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, and minus 4 need to be abandoned. Arrows or some notation that is specific for a direction must be used. The BS math is on top with their negative and positive, and symmetry math is on bottom with simply a number and an arrow. What does it mean to multiply something going in one direction by something going in another direction? Since multiplication is just addition, what would 4 in the left direction times 4 in the right direction be? Would it be 16 in the arrow pointing this way or 16 in the arrow pointing that way? In symmetry math, arrow direction math, you cannot multiply arrows going in opposite or different directions. The middle two terms are not logical. You cannot multiply opposite directions. This is a major error in BS math. They multiply a dash, a direction to the left, by a cross, a direction to the right. This is illogical and produces incorrect answer. The distributive law, when opposite directions are multiplied, produces incorrect answers. Broken symmetry or BS math invents absolute values for displacement. Even for a simple displacement of a maths, BS math invented a definition and absolute values to obtain something labeled a positive number answered. If, for example, a mass starts at -3, moves to +3, and then back to -1, BS math provides a usable answer without a definition or absolute values. A negative and then a subtraction operator multiplied by a negative direction in space gives you a negative +3, which gives you +2. The answer is correct, but the math is illogical. However, if an object starts at -1 and moves to +3 and then back to -3, BS math had to invent a definition of absolute values to provide a usable answer, because now you have a -3 and then a subtraction operator multiplied by a -1, which changes it to a positive, and the answer must be comes out to be -2. So we put a little set of goalposts up here and call it absolute value and change the -2 to a +2. BS math makes up a definition that all displacements are positive. Since this example provides an answer with something labeled a negative, the positive definition must be added and -2 is changed to +2. A definition is needed to arrive at a usable answer with BS math. In SM, absolute values and meaningless definitions of positive are removed. In SM, mass and direction in space are defined by the direction and magnitude of the resultant of arrows. A 5 in that direction and a 7 in this direction is a total distance of 12 with a resultant of 2 in this direction. With SM, you get total distance traveled by the object and the final direction of the displacement. A 3 in that direction and a 4 in that direction is a 7 in that direction. A 4 in this direction and a 1 in this direction is a 5 in this direction. A 7 in that direction and a 5 in this direction is a total distance of 12 with a displacement of 2 in that direction. This is an example of how imaginary numbers can produce incorrect answers. From Barry Mazur's book, Imagining Numbers, and Barry Mazur does his mathematics at Harvard University, where he is a university professor. Barry Mazur says, solve this equation using the distributive law, 1 plus the square root of minus 3 divided by 2 cubed. He says, do the computations carefully on paper using the rules we agreed to, then ponder your answer, which should be something of surprise to you. And my comments is definitely a surprise, is incorrect and illogical. Don't stop there. Think of what your answer might possibly mean or might imply. So if you go through this math, you'll come out with a gives you an answer of -1. And any of you who believe in BS math, you will actually agree with this in imaginary numbers. This is one of the errors of the rule of signs caused from the distributive law. It produces answers that are incorrect. The biggest error Barry Mazur made was not checking his answer but solving the equation with the incorrect answer. If he had, he would have known that the answer was incorrect. So we'll set the 1 plus the square root of minus 3 divided by 2 cubed equal to 1. Check answer by setting equal. So cube both sides and perform the math. And what you come up with is 1 plus the square root of 3 over 2 equals 1. Now multiply both sides by 2. And you come up with the square root of 3 equals -3. Now you square both sides, and you come up with -3 equals 9, or -1 equals 3. This is an incorrect answer. A simple equation check could distributive law using traditional math provides an incorrect answer. Symmetry math does not allow these incorrect answers to be calculated. Imaginary numbers are removed from symmetry math. The next few slides will show broken symmetry math equations that produce incorrect answers. The following equations cannot yield correct answers using BS math. The first equation is 2x minus x equals 0. And so add x to both sides. And so you have 2x equals x. And now let x equals 1 or 2 equals 1. This is obviously an incorrect answer. The only answer that BS math can give is x equals 0. The above equation is easily solved with non-zero answers with symmetry math. The second equation is a equals b. This is the starting equation. Multiply both sides by a. Now subtract bb from both sides. Factor a minus b from both sides. Divide both sides by a minus b. Replace a with b. Simplify to 2b equals b. Let b equals 1 or 2 equals 1. Again, BS math yields an incorrect answer. Symmetry math solutions cannot use the same symbol for directions. So 2 to the right and 1 to the left equals 0. So add a left to both sides, and this turns the left into a right. And now solve for r. So 2 times r over 2 and L is equal to 0. R and L equals to 0. So if you have a 2 in that direction and a 1 in this direction, and they need to equal 0, then you have to add that direction to both sides. So 2 is equal to 1. And so the arrow to that direction has to be 1 over 2 to this direction. So 2 times 1/2 and 1 equals 0. A 1 in that direction and 1 in this direction equals 0. And so x squared and 3 in the opposite direction, all you do is the math, and it comes out that the x has to be 1.732 squared to make it come out to 0. The incorrect answer results in the next example is the problem with the difference of squares. A squared minus b squared, which is factored into a minus b times a plus b. Symmetry math explains how this incorrect answer is obtained. So we start with the a equals b. This is the starting equation. So I've set a equal 2 and b equal 2. So now we multiply both sides by a. So we have 2 times 2 equals 2 times 2. Subtract bb from both sides. And now we have 2 minus 2 and 2 minus 2, and factor a minus b from both sides. And this is where traditional math breaks down. Traditional math rules multiply a subtraction operation by an addition operation. This is illogical. The answers cancel the middle two terms. The zero terms are canceled, and incorrect and illogical math follows. If you continue with traditional math, you get incorrect answers. Because we have a 0 times 4, you cannot go past step 3. Dividing both sides by a minus b. You are canceling the zeros. This happens anytime the left side of the number line is multiplied by the right side of the number line. The a minus b is removed from the calculation. This is not permitted in SM math. Replace a with b, simplify, and again, BS math yields an incorrect answer. You simply cannot separate, you cannot do the a minus b and a plus b. The equations developed by Lorentz and Einstein for Einstein's special relativity used broken symmetry math. Since BS math makes no distinction between the different meanings of the dash and crosses used, it created illogical science to become the accepted theories of academia. From fundamentals of modern physics, Einstein's math, everyone has seen this is Einstein's equation to find the relative velocity of objects moving in the opposite directions in space. This is the figure used to illustrate that object 1 and 2 are separating from each other at less than the speed of light. A logical mind will see them separating at 1.8 meters per second. However, BS math is not logical and produces an absurd answer. The acceptance of this illogical math has created illogical science for over 100 years. Two objects going in opposite direction are going at less than the speed of c. Here is how the multiplication of dashes and crosses without any explanation of their relationship to objects moving in space over time cause illogical and incorrect answers become an infallible theory in academia. The top equation shows a direction to the right, a subtraction operator, and a direction to the left. The bottom of the equation shows a subtraction of a direction to the left multiplied by a direction to the right. So the subtraction of the direction to the left multiplied by a direction to the left changes the subtraction operator into an addition operator and a direction from left to right. So when we do that, we get a 1.8 c for the direction to the right. And now if we take the left multiplied by a direction to the right and a direction to the left, a subtraction operator multiplied by the direction to the left becomes an addition operator. So when you go through BS math, you get a 1.81 divided into 1.8, and therefore it comes out to be less than c. The symmetry math's rule of signs would not have allowed the Lorentz-Einstein's equation to be used. In symmetry math, you cannot multiply a subtraction operator times a direction in space, can only solve for the resultant. Cannot multiply a direction to the left times a direction to the right, and you cannot multiply opposite directions in space. What the Einstein equation says is that if you have something moving in 0.9 c to one direction and you add 0.9 c in the opposite direction, the answer should be 0. And if you take a subtraction operator and you try to multiply it, something going to the right by something going to the left, is totally illogical and not allowed. So the top one is 0 and the bottom one is not allowed. The equation is illogical and produced the ridiculous Einstein thing of light has only one speed. you would like a Word copy of this presentation, send an email to kuysg@aol.com. Thank you for listening.